sometimes finding your client, your next client, is a lot easier. I think it's actually a lot easier than what people make it out to be, frankly. You just go through your phone book and just reach out to everybody.
If you message every single person in your contact list 100%, you would get a client.
Now you'll probably lose a couple friends, but they're probably
They
not
probably
friends
weren't your
anyway.
friends to begin with.
Fact.
If you spent an hour every week nurturing and creating relationships in a Facebook group, if you engaged with people's content on Instagram, if you're an in-person trainer and you went up and talked to 100 people in a week, all of those will yield a client. No one wants to do the work though. That's actually the issue.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that a lot of people, I think people inherently don't know what to do. And when I say that, I mean, conceptually it makes sense. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably struggle with this, or people that have issues, is that conceptually they know the big picture wave tops, right? Like, I know if I want to lose weight, I should avoid eating as much, or I should exercise a little more. I think where the wheels come off for most people is the tactical, practical how to's, and having a tight enough feedback loop to know what's working, what's not working, versus what people are making up in their head. And so, you know, kind of where my head goes with that.
I mean, the reality is if you have a thing that can help somebody, then like that should be, in my opinion, right? It feels like it should be pretty natural to be able to kind of engage and go and have a conversation. What I actually think why people don't want to do the work is because to them the work is about going to find somebody to sell something to, rather than finding somebody that you can help with your knowledge and experience. And that's when it's like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Do you think that most people that are avoiding the work are knowledgeable or experienced enough to be supremely confident that it's going to work?
No, 100% no. I mean, that's one absolute reason why it's a part of the problem. Is a lot of times it turns into this whole: is there a layer? Do I know? Can I confidently say the thing? Like, that's a piece of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also, again, like so many people have an aversion to selling somebody something,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point, if you like, like, hey, if I can guarantee you're going to get a thing, and let's say that thing is worth 10 grand, you should be willing to ask anybody for any amount up to 10 grand for the thing, like relentlessly.
Well, when you think about the people that are most confident when they're selling something, are the people that know it works without a shadow of a doubt, for the people that obviously are a good fit for it, or they are the world's biggest scammers.
Well, they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, shameless because they are there for themselves. And you think about everyone else that's a reasonable human being that doesn't want to sell something. I think that it's usually because they haven't either consumed enough of it or the product's just not that great. Like, people talk about stuff that they really enjoy all the time. You talk about your Giants, games all the time. And I don't think they're that good of a team, are they?
No.
Yeah, they're a terrible team, but you love them. Point being is that there's a familiarity, like you have a deep understanding of the team, some of the history, I would assume, and you know what the experience is like. And so when someone comes across your desk and they mention they're interested in football and they love the Giants, like, you have no problem being like, hey, you should come to a Giants game, or like, we should make this a thing. And so when I think about the nature of sales, I think that the number one thing most people get wrong about sales is that they don't understand the product, the process, or whatever it is that they're trying to offload onto a consumer well enough to articulate the pain points. And I mean that in order to truly be able to sell something, you have to be able to back it up a little bit and explain why it might not be a good fit for someone, which is kind of a contrarian thing to think about. But if you think it's for everyone, chances are you don't understand it well enough, and there's just some inherent bias. And when people are too certain, it actually triggers something in our brains that says, hey, this might not be the most trustworthy individual.
This is definitely a turn of where I think our intended conversation was going, but it does come down to your belief and your ability to go deliver a result, which is going to come down to repetition to build confidence and, proof in the pudding style thing. And I'm willing to bet on the other side of it, you're willing to talk to every single person that's in front of you to say, oh, hey, you should go do because blah, blah, blah. People will pay for guaranteed outcomes. The problem is that there's not really always guaranteed outcomes.
And especially in the service delivery industry, it really seems like certainty that someone can approach that with is effectively just like reducing the time to something, or again increasing the feedback loop. And I think this is when, and again this is probably a different topic for a future conversation, but like when people don't know what they're doing, they start doing, they have no idea if it's working or not, because it's such a delayed gratification of how quickly someone's body is going to change.
Yeah.
And so that's what the coach kind of helps them stay on track. But to tie this down to the original conversation, which is like, where do you find your next client? I think that it, in my opinion, it comes down to where are the people hanging out that you want to work with. If you want to work with people that are 75 plus, that have independent living situations and want to keep living until they're 90, 100, 110 or whatever, then maybe collective, a retirement community might not be the best idea. It might be to go and find someone and just go door knock. I don't know what that would be. Maybe mailers might be a good way for you to go about that. Conversely, if you're talking to and you really like working with young athletes, I don't think that Facebook is probably going to be your biggest bet, because they think that that's for people that were from World War II in the last millennium. So, it's just like those don't fit. And so when people come to you and they say, hey, go start a Facebook group, or go do XYZ method, or try this principle, and it doesn't take into context what you appreciate or where you like to hang out or where you're most likely to be your authentic, engaging self, that is able to just yap and talk to whomever, then I think that people inherently set themselves up for failure.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important thing to do. You have to go out and put the work in. You have to go find where they're at. I can guarantee you you'll get more people that say yes to you, or are willing to listen to you, if you talk to 100 versus 10, or 1,000 versus 100. So swing the likelihood of success so far in your favor that failure is not an option, and just go find the right people and be supremely confident in what you're wanting to talk about, and go down that road. The idea of scripting and all those components, I don't overly love it, because at the end of the day, I feel like it's one of those things where you don't know the conversation. It is a human, and you want to go down that road. And especially in the beginning, you just got to put the reps in so you can see what works for you. But just going out and having more conversations is going to yield better results.
Yeah. Well, and it also give you the feedback that you need, because you have no idea if it's going to land or not. And then you take someone that's, 32-year-old, compare them to a 44-year-old, compare them to a 55-year-old, and like, it's the same conversation, three different demographics. They're probably going to go three different ways. And so that's where we say, like, no matter what you're doing, just you got to start getting out there and doing the thing in order to figure out what's working, what's not working. You have to do it long enough to collect enough information and feedback that this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. And I think
Yeah.
pretty quickly, when you do public indecency in public, like you expose yourself in public, I think you find that it's a pretty powerful feedback loop pretty quickly, right? Nothing is ever going to give you that kind of direct feedback that quickly that will ruin your future professional career as much as being a sex offender because you wanted to pee on a car in public. But if you get a lot of smaller pieces of feedback, you have to pay attention to those, because there's not going to be someone that says, hey, you should try it this way or that way as a consumer more often than not, which is why you have to get little pieces of feedback out of every single interaction. And when you just get one or two, it's not enough to create a holistic picture of what to actually do with the information that you've collected, because it might be bad information,
Yeah.
you know. But I think you should get out in the communities. That's my big thing for this year, is getting into your local communities, going find people that have adjacent services, going to a medical spa. I think that would probably be a great thing if you are a competent, well spoken, educated individual. If you barely have your CPT, I don't think that goes well for you, because you're going to talk to someone that understands how the body works very well. And if you can't have a similar conversation on shared language, then I think that, again, that's probably just not your people, given what you currently have as a knowledge, skill set, or ability level at this current time. Doesn't mean you
Yeah.
can't get there, but you want to punch one level up, is usually what I like to say.
It's a quick one today, folks, but hopefully that was helpful. And at the end of the day, just go do the thing. Go talk to people. Go learn more. Go be confident. That's really the big thing. But we appreciate you guys listening to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. Subscribe, like, rate, review. Throw a comment down there on what you want us to chat about.
Till next time.